Welcome to We Are Soccer. Today, I'm joined by U.S. men's national team legend, Fox soccer analyst, and host of the State of the Union podcast, Alexi Lalas. It is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Alexi Lalas. Welcome to We Are Soccer, and thank you for joining us once again, Alexi.
You wrote it exactly as I wrote it, or you said it exactly as I wrote it. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I love what you do, and my life has come kind of full circle back to the United States, and obviously that neck of the woods where you are has meant so much to me from growing up, not just on the soccer field, but I take it with me everywhere that I go. So I love talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Listen, the funny thing is I did a podcast. I was interviewed on podcast a couple of days ago, a music podcast with a bunch of guys who've played with and against you for years. And man, we were taught I'm going to send it to you. You're going to listen to it and you're going to know almost all the names we talked about. They're from your generation, a little bit after, and it's fun.
Oh my goodness.
Dudes
Music and
too.
soccer, right up my alley. I love it. Beautiful.
And music, right? So I know you're a big music fan as well. So I'll send that to you. All right, let's jump in. Listen, U.S. men's national team, that's been the hot topic in the last couple of weeks. We're less than a year away from the World Cup, which is hosted here in North America. We obviously lost in two friendlies to Turkey and then got demolished by Switzerland. What's your take on what's going on right now with the U.S. men's national team?
I mean, the sense that I get, and you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is a palpable angst out there. I think, obviously, the criticism for this team, given the fact that not only did they lose these last two friendlies against not elite competition, but certainly good competition, and as it played out, probably better competition in the form of Switzerland and Turkey. But, this is four losses in a row. This is, on the heels of hiring Mauricio Pochettino, paying a whole lot of money for him, and at a time when we should, have incredibly positive forward momentum, like you said, a year before the World Cup. Instead, we find this criticism and this angst, and I think most, concerning is a real apathy towards this team. And I never thought in the summer of 2025 that this is the type of dynamic that would exist. The good news is it can change. Yeah. But it's not going to change overnight. And the Gold Cup here, I think, is at least an initial step to, kind of steer it in a more positive direction and maybe get some cautious optimism going forward. Because right now, this is not a good time for this U.S. men's national team at a time when it should be, like I said, this incredible forward momentum and celebration of what is to come and the opportunity of what is to come.
It doesn't help that we have, players of prior generations who you've played with and know personally, kind of piling on and trying to hit these one-liners here and there and try to almost be remembered, if you will. It doesn't help, right? That's kind of putting a lot of angst out there, if you will. What's your take on some of those folks saying things that maybe doesn't need to be said right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would put myself in that category, more of an OG type of guy, having done this a lot, and now this next generation has come online and has moved into the jobs of being the commentators and the pundits, and part of that is having an opinion, whether people like it or not, and I can certainly attest to that over the years. I don't look at it necessarily as bitter or infighting in a negative sense. Yes, it's critical, and yes, it probably stings and hurts. But I also think that as we continue to mature as a soccer playing nation, this is kind of part and parcel of it. Now, I also think that it's completely fair for the other side to, I guess, to hit back and to defend themselves. And they can use data, they can use historic references. I've tried so hard over the years as I have become this elder in this world to try not to grumpy old man too much. And I like to think that I don't. But if I see something that I don't agree with, my job and what I get paid for, as the other guys that do this, is to say so. Now, just being provocative to be provocative, that doesn't get you very far, and that doesn't last long. But this too shall pass. This is not. I don't see it as problematic as others do. Again, it's just also the time. This summer, a year away from the World Cup, that we are doing this and having this. a quick way to say it is that, well, I've often said that one of the problems in soccer is that we eat our own. I don't
Mm.
necessarily think that we are eating our own here right now, but we are kicking them in the ass when they need a kick in the ass, and maybe they're not getting a kick in the ass, or maybe they haven't had a kick in the ass.
What's to me is a little different is when your generation was playing, there wasn't this elder statesman, there wasn't the prior generation, right? You guys were almost the first to do it. Is that, but like you just said, you're able to give a little kick in the ass when there wasn't anything before. No one had the spectacle in the eye on the sport and the players like they did before, they have now. What is the difference in generations with today's players and your generation? Good and bad. Is it that there's got to be so much more, obviously, with social media? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Where do you stand on kind of all of that?
I mean, I maintain an incredible pride in how far we've come.
Yep.
And when I look at the opportunities that this generation has, I don't begrudge them. I am jealous in a positive sense,
Sure.
but I'm also incredibly full of pride that this has happened and all of these opportunities and these resources that they have. That's a good thing. That's what we talked about for years. And
Yeah.
and just like a parent, if you will, you want to leave this next generation that you have been involved with and nurtured in a better place. And I certainly think that we can say that. But also with that comes expectation and higher expectation.
Yep.
And I think responsibility. I think where we might have kind of veered off, and it's almost kind of a natural progression and challenge, is that with all of these resources and opportunities that we've given, we haven't maintained from the start, hey, now we expect more. And it is, in a certain sense, easier for you,
Mhm.
and therefore you should be doing more than has happened in the past. And sometimes that's hard to say, and sometimes that's hard to hear in life, and certainly in sports out there. And I know, look, my generation, while we had successes, we were also a bunch of dysfunctional idiots oftentimes, and we were involved in, you know, bad moments. I mean, hell, the 1994, as much as and impactful as it was, and we followed it up 4 years later with a complete debacle in France for 1998. So, as far as you know what doesn't stink, none of us can claim that,
Right.
regardless of what generation we are. But this is also it's also as a sign of maturity, right? Because every other country and culture has this, and the personalities from before, they're up there being pundits, and they talk about things, and that's okay. And guess what? The players that we are talking about today, someday they are going to be in our position and doing the exact same thing to that next generation. And that next generation might look at them and say, well, we're a bunch of old farts and you don't know what you're talking about.
You nailed it on the head there. All right. So is Mauricio Pochettino, in your mind, is he the man for the job? Is he able to take us forward? Is he able to progress us? Because there's been a lot of been said with the losses to Turkey and Switzerland and some of the performances, and maybe he doesn't know the players, and maybe the coaching staff doesn't know how the American system and the American player and MLS. Is this the man for the job? Is this the group for the job to take us to the World Cup and get us to where we need to be?
So all the criticisms that you just laid out there, there's no excuse. Okay, Mauricio Pochettino is a smart man. He has had incredible success, albeit in the club situation. We know the
Yes.
international situation is very different in terms of coaching a very limited time. But he knew exactly what the gig was, and he knew the realities of the situation when he was getting into it, and when he is paid a rumored $6 million a year. You expect results,
Yep.
and you expect us to be in a much more positive place, and we're not. I don't think he's necessarily in danger, but I do think that, for example, in this Gold Cup, which by the way you can see on Fox, if this doesn't go well, I think that there is an absolutely fair and justified and valid discussion and debate relative to, is this the proper person to take us into the most important moment in our soccer history, which is the summer of 2026. And if the United States Soccer Federation has even a small doubt, they have to examine that, because their responsibility is to do everything in their power to assure that we are successful. And I guess hedge our bets to do that. And they hired him, but if they feel that they were wrong, you got to be big enough to raise your hand and say, we got this wrong, and we are going to rectify the situation, and we're going to pay whatever money it is, and we're going to go out and get that person that is going to enable us to have the best chance of success, because we cannot afford to have a failure in the summer of 2026.
It's funny. My heart almost skipped a beat when I hear you talking to me about the biggest moment in U.S. soccer history because it is. This is one of the biggest moments in the history of our sport here in this country. And if we don't get it right, if we look like fools, it's gonna hurt and it's gonna sting and it's gonna take a long time to get back from that. And you're one of the people, and you've seen it in the last 30 years. This sport has grown from dads who are
Yeah.
coaching at high level, trying to be high level, to we have professional coaches who earn a living every single day now to the point where we have gotten one of the best coaches in the world to come in and do this. So it could set us back a few steps if we look foolish asking the world to come watch us play here.
Yeah, as far as we've come, and we have come far, and look, soccer will survive and continue regardless of what happens next summer. But it's not unbreakable, and certainly not infallible, right?
Right.
Yeah, infallible. We there is still a frailty to the sport, you know, and so again, we this is on our watch. This is our responsibility. And World Cups, as we know, I mean, I'm sitting here today, they are legacy types of moments, either for the individuals involved or the teams involved, but more importantly, in this case, the sport involved. And we talk about 1994, we talk about 1999 with the women's team, and 2026 can have that same type of impact unless we screw it up. And it's not like we didn't know it was coming. We had a very, very long ramp. It's not like we don't have the resources or we don't have, like we said, the history of putting on big events. If anybody can put on a big event, it's us. And yet, if we show up in that summer and either on the field we are less than, and that's problematic, and off the field from an organizational standpoint, if we screw it up too, it's going to be on our watch. I like actually the fact that President Trump continuously talks about the World Cup because that's ownership to me.
Yeah.
And regardless of your political persuasion out there, I think you can recognize the value of having the president focused in on it.
Yeah.
And we can't afford to screw that up because it's on his watch. And it will be a reflection. It'll be a reflection on the cities that host. It'll be a reflection on the states that host. It'll be a reflection on the countries that host, and obviously the leaders within those cities, states, and the country.
Yep. Nailed it. All right. So the Gold Cup is kicking off. Those games are on Fox Sports, as you said. Give the fans, the U.S. men's national team, some fans, give us some advice if things don't quite go our way in those games. I expect us to win some games. I expect us to lose some games with the current roster we have, but give us some advice because I don't want to see everybody just capitulate and that's it. And then we're not looking forward to 2026.
Yeah, so U.S. kicking off the campaign for the Gold Cup tonight. We're recording this on a Sunday against Trinidad and Tobago. Obviously, we have a history when it comes to TNT, but I would expect this team, even with its challenges, to certainly get through the group and to challenge for yet another Gold Cup. Obviously, this has been done time and time again. It's also been done in the previous forms with a less than A team. We've seen Greg Berhalter do that. So I don't want to let Mauricio Pochettino and this team off the hook, given some of the players that aren't here and all that. I want to be realistic, but I also think that, like I said, that's letting them off the hook. If it doesn't go well, I think there is like I said, a fair discussion that should be had. And if it goes well too, it doesn't mean that solves all the problems. If it goes well, I think there will be a rightful pat on the back and well done, but with some perspective in that we've won plenty of Gold Cups,
Right.
and this is also more importantly about winning a World Cup. And
Right.
so, I just, but I love a tournament, and I love to see this team, and I love to see whether a team will step up. And I know they hear it. I just hope that it resonates with, like I said, some of the anger and some of the angst that exists out there. And they have the opportunity at least to get us to start to believe again, to ignite or maybe to reignite some of that belief and that love that people have for this team, and to bring more people into the tent as we, head on into 2026.
And that's what it's about, bringing more people in and getting reigniting that love because it's lost a little bit in the last couple of years. I think it's gone on. All right, Lexi, you're going to be back here in Michigan, where we're at here for We Are Soccer. You're going to be at the North American Soccer Expo, which happens August 1st through the 3rd. right across the street actually from our studio here. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to you kind of coming in. Are you looking forward to joining up with the North American Soccer Expo and presenting and everything it has to offer for coaches, players, referees, directors, anybody involved in the sport? To be honest, should be looking to attend and hear you at presents.
Yeah, I mean, I'm jacked up for a couple of reasons, not the least of which I get to go home to Michigan, and I get to, see people that I know. Michigan had such a huge impact on my life and my career. And, so whether it was the soccer that I played and a lot of the soccer that I played, indoor, outdoor, all over the place, that we did, and especially in those formidable years, it created the soccer player that I ended up being. But more importantly, it created the person that I am. And so I love any chance and opportunity to go back, and that I get to marry it with the other thing that I love, which is soccer, and see, and kind of be affirmed or reaffirmed as to the incredibly robust culture that you're a part of, that exists in this place that has meant so much to me. That's great. So, yeah, we're going to have a wonderful time. All the exhibitors that are there, all the programs that are there. I'm going to babble on for a little bit, and people just hopefully won't throw anything, and we'll have a good time, and connect and or reconnect with some people there, and see all the different ways of people that are thinking. And sometimes we were just talking about the national team and some of this angst, and sometimes we kick ourselves for what we haven't done, and every once in a while we also have to pat ourselves on the back, whether it's from a national perspective or in this case a regional perspective, and in this place. So yeah, come on out August 1st through 3rd. I'm going to come out early. I'm going to see some different people. I'm going to experience the whole thing. Obviously, I'll have my functions that I'll be a part of, but I just want to meet people and hang out and have a good time over there in a big old party in Michigan.
That's what it's going to be, my friend. And we can't wait to have you. And maybe after the show, we'll go for a beer and hang out a little bit as well.
Novi, right? Yeah, Novi Suburban Collection Showplace, man. I mean, let's go. Party
Yeah,
Central. That's what I'm talking about.
exactly. All right, my friend. Alexi, thank you so much. Good luck with the Gold Cup. Good luck with everything. We very much appreciate you joining. Always a pleasure, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much. I love talking to you, and I love what you're doing. So, keep fighting the good fight, my friend.
Will do. Thanks again.